Good morning. This is a contract review committee's meeting for Friday, February 7th, 2025. It is 9:04 a.m. And we are conducting this meeting virtually. So no one, the only people, no, everyone is virtual. I'm sorry. So let me first establish quorum. So Sue Minthinen.
Present.
John Balash.
Present.
Linda Williams.
Present.
And I see Joanna Roach just joining us.
Yes,
All right.
I'm here.
And myself, Veronica, so we have quorum. I will also announce that we have Jericho Maley and Alexandria Richards with us from the town. Can I have an approval of the agenda?
I think we need to establish quorum through a voice count.
Oh.
It's
Can
got to
we
be all
do
roll
that?
call because it's all. Did everyone
I
do?
did
Did we
that.
just do that?
I
I
am
did that.
zoning out. I am terribly sorry.
Okay, we've done that, but we do have to have an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so voting on the agenda, we've got John Balash,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Joanna Roach,
Aye.
Sue Minthinen,
Aye.
and myself, Veronica. So we have an agenda. I don't believe we have any minutes for today. That's quite all right. We will move on to public comment. I don't believe we have any. I don't see anyone up on our screen. So we are on to item number 7. When we left last week, we had done some preliminary numbers and there was a question on the table. We have only in substance misuse applications, we have awards for $133,630, which leaves approximately $44,000 of the money that we had on the table. And the question went to Brian Turbert. Could we move that money and allocate it for the human services grants? And the answer came back with a firm no. There was some back and forth, and Jericho, you can join in on this, some back and forth if we could apply it to maybe something related to substance misuse in human services, but it basically, the answer is no. So that leaves us that we aren't going to be using all the money that was sent out for us. We had hoped that we would have that money to distribute because we left our numbers last week. There were some areas that specifically NAMI, we only gave them 50, we only suggested 51,000 of the 120 that they had asked. I think that is a little bit shy. And what I am going to suggest that we relook at the numbers to see if we could move things around to allocate more in that area. We also have, actually, there's 5 that are getting 0 awards, as we discussed last week. The Athenaeum, Dreamland, and the Lighthouse School. We had basically said, we don't have the money. They are preventative programs, wonderful ideas, but there's other pressing needs. The other one was the Boys and Girls Club, who we determined that was a capital expense and didn't fall within our mission. And the last one under substance applications was Prism. And that is because not having the not-for-profit status when the application was made. So we have, if we just think of the human services, we have I think 3 that are 0 awards in addition to the Boys and Girls Club. If we're comfortable with that, so be it, and we will basically notify them and suggest that maybe in the future they combine and maybe come back. And we don't want to discourage them because they are new organizations coming into this money. So we have to decide if that's what we really want to do. And then how are we going to get some money to give to the therapist program? Any comments on where I am? And I can't see hands, so Jericho, you're going to have to see if, or I see, I have Linda's hand. I can see that. So Linda?
I'm comfortable. I don't want to rehash. I'm absolutely comfortable where we are on both counts. I mean, obviously the guys under the cannabis thing, they got everything, and too bad we can't use that 40 grand plus. But I'm comfortable where we are. We did a really good job dividing this money up. And for the reasons that we stated at the meeting on the ones that didn't get the funding, I'm perfectly comfortable. And I, for one, do not, under any circumstances, want to reopen the allocations again.
Okay.
Sue also has a hand up.
Okay, Sue?
I'm okay leaving the blank ones blank. I don't want to rehash that. I would be interested in seeing if we can kind of scrape the edges of some awards to give more to NAMI. I'm just kind of thinking that it's the people that program serves are people that are under a lot of pressure right now with the potential changes in government and things that are happening kind of at that level, and seeing private practitioners outside of a formal agency might feel safer to a lot of people. So I don't think we're going to fully fund it, but if we could add more, I think that might be meaningful to our community.
Okay, any other comments?
Sure. I mean, sure. I feel like we should not reopen deliberation. I'm comfortable with the way things are. I mean, I wish we could give NAMI more money, but I don't know where it would come from.
Okay. You know, I shaved a little bit off of almost everyone to give a little bit more to NAMI, just in a rough trying to figure out how to do that. But I will go with, you know, we probably should put this to a vote, and I will go along with the majority.
I do have my hand up again.
Okay,
Okay.
I wasn't sure, Linda.
All right, Linda, yes?
I agree with Joanna. I've already stated that, but if we start scarfing off of other people, it's going to hurt other people. So I don't know how we can justify doing anything but what we've just already done, which I thought was fair and as good as we can get it. Because if we start ripping off from other people, we're impacting other people as well. So we've already, nobody really, the big ones didn't get everything they asked for because we just don't have the money. But if we start scraping, we're hurting other people. So I don't know how I can justify that. So I'm perfectly comfortable leaving it the way it is, because we spent a really good time. Really, you know, those 2 or 3 hours we spent, we did a really good job. I got to tell you.
Yeah. I agree with you, Linda. And I think unless there's any more comments, I think we should probably put this to a vote and
hand
then
from
move
Joanna?
on. Oh, Joanna? Okay.
I mean, listen, I appreciate, the only place or the only thing that I could see here that we could possibly adjust is health imperatives. Because if you look at health imperatives and Fairwinds, they both asked for 125 and we bumped Fairwinds down to 100. If we bumped health imperatives down to 100 and we gave that money to NAMI, that would be the only thing that I could see that would be fair. Otherwise, I just don't see the impacts of taking away the rest of the money from the others is too great.
Yeah. And I know it's in a different bucket, but Health Imperatives is also getting 25,000 in substance that grant. So
I don't know if people would entertain that or not, but that would be the only place where I would see making an adjustment.
okay, so that would make 100,000 for Health Imperatives and 18,000.
Don't touch it yet.
Yeah, I was
over.
I
gonna
know,
say,
I'm not
No,
moving
Linda's got
anything.
her
touch
hand
it.
up.
Yeah, so that would
And-
bring 18,000 over to the 51.
May I make a brief point of order, question / comment? As we left it, we had voted to adopt these
Yep.
recommendations as written. So we would need a vote, we'd need a motion to readjust, and then that motion would pass, and then that would be, so we don't, if we do no vote right now, it remains as is, to my
Right.
understanding.
Right. And I do have my
Okay.
hand up again.
Okay, Linda? Yes?
I'm not, the bang for the buck. Health imperatives is absolutely critical now because more than likely, as you know, health is going to get cut by the current administration because they don't care. So I'm not willing to take 18 grand away from health imperatives, who is going to be even under more stress to provide more services than possibly they do right now. So I'm not interested in doing that. I am involved with the underground immigration group again, and there are people that are afraid to go to anything where it's registered. And these people they won't go to the hospital now. They won't go to the food pantry. They would go to health imperatives because it's anonymous. And I just cannot take 18 grand away from health imperatives right now.
Mhm. Okay. So, Jericho, just point of order. Would we vote to keep the numbers as is, or this has just been discussion and we move on to the next item? Do
So
we need a vote?
to my understanding, you would need a motion to reopen, so we can move on to the next agenda item without any, without
need a vote.
Yeah, we don't need a vote to move on.
Okay. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Linda's your hand up again?
No,
It's
just have to
okay.
take it down.
Okay, alrighty.
There
You're the
goes.
only person I'm seeing, so when I see your hand, let's go
Well,
back
that
to,
is weird because I can see from my computer, I can see John, Joanna, Sue,
okay,
It does
you,
weird,
and yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
weird?
it does
Right.
weird things based on your screen size.
Yeah.
That's how it tries to arrange things.
Okay.
So I just ended the share on the
Okay.
spreadsheet. When, if it is appropriate, I can share the report.
Okay. Let's go on to the next item, which is the report. And we apologize for not getting this to people until midday yesterday, but Jericho and I worked on this for 3.5 days. So we kept running out of time each day. But in any case, I hope everyone's had a chance to take a look at it. And I know that, John, you said that you have a number of edits. Overall, before we get into, and John, is it correct that the edits are is it substance or is it
It
language?
is a legal wordsmith's
Okay,
language, and it's not substance,
okay. All right, so let's hold those then
right?
and see if there's any substance first.
And Sue has a hand up.
Okay, Sue?
Mine lands somewhere in the middle, I guess. It's in section 3, we mentioned twice that the town has allocated money for community needs assessment. It's in paragraph 2 and in paragraph 4, and I didn't know if that was for emphasis.
No, I think we sliced the thing into different parts, and then I wanted to keep it in there as often as possible. But if you guys, if it reads as excessive, my suggestion on this is that we start we just start up here, we go through it. If there's any major level issues that like in conception, structure, or so on, we would want to let it out now so that we don't get all the way through and then realize we have to break it. But in general, is this the tenor of the report that you guys were like, that this was sort of what we were hoping to do based on the initial round of the, like when we adjusted the applications and so on. So go ahead. Sorry, Linda's up.
Linda?
I was jazzed when I saw it. I didn't get to read all of it. I did a speed read because I got it. I had Concom yesterday after I picked this up from Jericho, a hard copy. And compared to previous reports, I think this was a real education for the FinCom and the Select Board on what's happening out here, what we do, what the needs are. I was really enthusiastic about this because they don't really understand what's happening here or what's happening at the Select Board. And I thought this was great educationally. I don't really have much wordsmithing to do. I probably could do it because I was a writer for the papers for years, but I'm happy with this. And I think it was done incredibly well. So I'm jazzed. I have never seen a report come from us in all the years I've been involved with CRC, but this was fantastic. It just needed to be done.
Well, thank you, Linda. The first thing that we started with was trying to put the request and actually the awards into different categories. And we know that this is part of what will be done in the needs assessment, but what we did is rather than reinvent the wheel, we looked at the Community Foundation, because the Community Foundation also gives out similar awards. So we adopted their categories. And it sort of matches what we've been functioning with, but at least it has words on it. On the chart, it says housing, but that really is housing, food, but it just says housing. So at least, I know I like pie charts. I like graphs. I think it gives a picture, and hopefully that's something that the readers will focus on. Anyone else?
Sue has a hand up.
Okay, thank you, Sue.
I just want to agree with Linda. This is really well laid out. The prose is sort of as concise, I think, as we can make it. You know, we don't want them to read 12 pages of narrative. So I think that was super helpful. I agree with the graphs. People learn differently and absorb information differently. So it's great to have it in different formats. And then
Okay.
showing them who all these organizations are and what kind of money we're talking about is just good transparency. So I'm proud to be part of adjacent to this document, like that it's going in with our names, I think is great as an
Okay.
overall concept.
Joanna, if I can ask, because you wear a number of different hats. And
I think it's very good. I think it's very good, and I have little to change, right? I mean, I will leave the rest of it to you guys. I read through it. I think it's very good. I think it's probably the best report I've seen generated as well.
Okay, well, wanted to make sure that we're giving the readers what they want to see. And this, of course, will go along with the presentation. So
Joanna, can I steal that as the blurb for the cover of this report when I read it? Which is the best report I've seen generated, Joanna.
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
we're
We're
gonna have
get this
t-shirts made.
paperback. Oh yeah, that's
Yes, please
So-
release it on social media with that
yeah.
tagline.
So with that in mind, and with the I think this report is better if the more we all participate. I know John has some line edits that he'd like to get through. I think if we get through it and we get everybody's edits on board, then I would ask for an approval. I would get this to Brian in finance as quickly as I can, like as soon as we're out of this meeting, and then we would give the FinCom a good month or so to read this before we go in to present to them in early March, which I believe has to be after March 5th. Is that correct, Joanna?
Yes,
Okay.
Okay,
yes.
alrighty.
Before we do this, I do have one other thing that I would like to say, which is I'm really sensitive to how it's going to be communicated to the people that we gave $0 to. Right? I'm very concerned about that because I feel bad. I feel badly. I guess that's the wrong. I feel that we owe them a responsibility, I think is a better way to say it, of being is not saying that their requests weren't worthwhile or that we didn't believe in what they were trying to do, but it is that we don't have the money. And when you look, the Boys and Girls Club notwithstanding, because that was a capital request, it's the other three. And I think that the way that we respond to them in a letter that we write to them should really say, the three of your organizations should partner on this, and you should come back to us next year with a plan of how that's going to work, because your proposals were the most similar out of everyone in this process. And had it been that, had they asked us for $50,000 as a group, I think it would have been easier for us to get to giving them some money.
I agree with that. And I do think we owe a good explanation, because we also are encouraging new organizations and new types of applications. So at least two of the three are the first time that they've applied. And we don't want this to be a message of don't bother, that we're not going to award. So we do
Right.
need to explain.
Right.
So
I mean, Veronica, had the three of them submitted a partnership application to the substance abuse money, we could have
Yes.
awarded it to them. And so
Exactly.
it's sort of a tragedy that we have to walk away from the $40,000 that the three of them could have used, because a lot of what they were describing was prevention, right?
right, right.
Well, we'll be
And
able to.
that's,
Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead. Yeah, we actually, Jericho and I discussed this when we got the messages back from Brian Turbert that it had to be substance. And we said, could we basically look at their application and see if they can pull out or whatever? But I think I was a bit uncomfortable with that, because in some ways it's
Writing their
adjusting,
proposed
it's
program
writing
for
their
them.
and redoing a proposal at this point. So I wasn't comfortable in doing that, but moving forward, I think that's good advice to give to them.
I do have a hand from Linda.
Linda?
A couple of things. Obviously, we use the word very supportive of your programs, but this year, yada, yada, yada. But the word support is really kind of critical there. Is there any way, if these three can get together and apply for that settlement money?
It is possible for them to apply if their application hits the guidelines for it. That would be, so my intent on this would be so these are not official until town meeting, but with the 0 awards, I think we would probably reach out ahead of time. I think a letter from this body would be ideal, and then I would work with them on a group application for either next CRC or for the settlement money when that comes out, because that would be during the FY26 that would come to term.
Yeah, but
So-
the money's like 50 grand or something, and it's available like in May or whatever it is, obviously not till the July 1. But that would take up the slack if those three can get together with a common purpose. Then we give them that money, make it up what we didn't give them this time. And that's basically what we're talking about right now, is the three of them coming together to make an application, so there's not cross purposes. And they could get that money, and then we wouldn't have to worry about that for this year. So that's just an idea of trying to get them to talk to each other.
So I
Okay.
think that would be somewhat dependent on the specifics of the opioid settlement money, if they could get an application that meets those requirements. So this is the opioid settlement money. It's not just substance misuse, it's specifically opioid misuse. And there are some additional restrictions around its use that don't apply to the cannabis money. It is entirely possible, and I'm going to work with these agencies, both when I let them know about the nature of the 0 award, and then also when I'm working with them on a potential collaborative application next year.
Okay. This is a question on when we should notify these folks, because, this is a public meeting and people will see. Do we notify them on Monday? Or do we wait until the FinCom presentation?
I think we should do it before the FinCom sees it.
Okay.
I don't
I
want that
don't-
to be a surprise.
I don't know if it's, but I don't know procedurally. I mean, I suppose there's in a long shot situation when we make this presentation at the FinCom that something could change. Right?
Right. It's possible that, seeing numbers the way they are and that we had to 0 award, does that give a strong message that if there is additional money to be allocated, does that make our message stronger? In that case, these numbers may not be the final numbers.
Well, these numbers are only going to be the final numbers after town meeting.
Town
Right.
meeting,
Yeah.
right?
So the possibility for this changing exists up until after it reaches the threshold to be adopted at town meeting. My suggestion, and I would be much more comfortable with this if this is a motion that carries here, is that we would notify people that preliminary recommendations had been reached by the CRC and go no further than that at this time. And then once FinCom either endorses or does not this particular article number, then we would reach out with tentative, like the tentative, you have received this for award. But to be totally honest, the safest possible way for us to communicate this out for everyone in terms of planning and coordination is to wait until after town meeting to let everyone know we have determined your recommendation for the fiscal year 26, but that it will not become official until after town meeting, and then communicate after town meeting, just so that in the event of something weird happening, there isn't a written record of us saying you have received this award and then it changing afterwards.
Mhm.
However, if there is a chance that these 3 organizations can combine and put an application in that's appropriate for the opiate money, that is happening way before town meeting. So
I think we should tell them that we should tell the 3 organizations in question that they have that due to the nature of this year's allocation requirements, we were not able to fund them. However, and then point them towards the recommendations around the opioid settlement money.
Okay.
But
Okay.
there will be competition on that. That there are 2 agencies that have a direct treatment role on the island that this grant money, the settlement money is intended more for that, not intended more for that because it has some preventative language in it. But if this is like, they would not be a shoo-in for this money. You know, we have to run a grant process for it. And given the structure of this money, it might be such that we wouldn't give it to these organizations.
All right, one thing you had said last week, Jericho, is that on the opiate money, that it would be just one award. What is the reason for that?
Primarily impact. We're going to be getting this money in probably 2 or 3 tranches. We can expect, Brian communicated to me that we can expect this to be the largest single chunk of money because it's coming together in smaller packages from different settlements, and then it's now been bundled in this 55. I think Brian felt that this would be the most, using this amount of money rather than just a lot of extremely small ones would both be easier for us to manage in a short turnaround cycle, and also would have the greatest amount of impact on an agency that's delivering services.
Okay.
I can go back to him with that. Like, this isn't set in stone. It's not a requirement of the opioid settlement terms. But it's my feeling that for this funding, it might be a good idea to keep it in a single amount. Because I think that we should be working towards having pre-allocated amounts of grant funding to apply for, rather than us having a deciding what it is. We break our monies up into more discrete chunks, and then have people apply for set amounts there. I just think that this particular fund, if we end up splitting it down into $5,000 or $10,000 chunks, it might not be. It would kind of dilute the impact of the opioid settlement. But
Okay.
if this committee, we would need to decide that officially before we get the application terms for this opioid settlement grant process.
Okay. All right, so back to the letter. You know, it will say that the overall gist, we're supportive of the programs, but the preliminary recommendations right now have them that they are getting 0 awards, and we would encourage them to combine forces for future grant possibilities.
Use that word support. We support your efforts.
Okay. I've underlined support. Make sure that comes out loud and clear.
Yeah, I don't want
so
to think that we're just throwing them to the wolves kind of thing.
Right. And I don't want other organizations to be hesitant about applying because, you know, we've given 0 award to some. Hopefully this won't ever happen again, but right now I think we're trying to, you know, as the report says, you know, we had to go more heavily because of the limited funds we had with the request. We had to go more heavily in prevention as opposed to, direct as opposed to preventative.
I have a hand
So-
from Sue.
Okay, Sue?
For context, I mean, it stinks that we don't have the funds to give to everybody, even partially. I mean, like, I don't want anyone to think that I don't feel sadness about that, because I do. I mean, I apply for these grants as well. But it's not unprecedented. Maybe for this body it is, but people don't get grant applications fulfilled all the time. So
Exactly. It's not a given, you know.
It's not a given,
sure-
and yeah, no, and I've been on the end of, you know, not receiving a grant, not even a toss, you know, like, here's some money, we believe in you. So I know people believe in these organizations. I certainly believe in their missions and their projects.
Yeah.
So we should feel like it's an unfortunate circumstance, but we shouldn't belabor our pain about it.
Right, right.
My major concern, just from an administrative section, is I want this to be communicated in a way that will send the signal to the nonprofits that we're not excluding anyone, but this is competitive and it will get more so as time goes on, most likely. Just because there's going to be, no matter how much additional funding we get, there will always be excess needs.
Yeah.
That is the nature of this thing. So us being more competitive hopefully will be an engine for us to get more total funding into this sphere. So it will have a net positive across the board, but there is always going to be pain points along the way.
Right, and the way we've allocated to different priorities this year isn't an indication of how it's always going to be, and that's why we're trying to do this needs assessment to get a better grip on where the funds should be sort of funneled to first, but this is our best effort.
Well, and I think this shows the need for us to communicate more at the beginning of the grant process, for us to
Right.
have explicit amounts, and for us to have, us to do to be a little more explicit about what kind of things we are accepting and looking for. But I think we've moved a long way along that road already.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so what will happen is Jericho, on Monday, I will send you a draft. We'll coordinate on that, and the letter that goes out to the organizations, do we need to have everyone approve the letter?
We
Or
do
is-
not. You
or
could
is-
get a motion to write a letter to write a letter covering the questions, covering the topics discussed beforehand. I would suggest that we then send it to the committee afterwards, just so everyone can have a look at it. It would not require approval, but if there's anything we missed that a committee member has seen, they could let
Okay.
us know and we could adjust it from there.
Okay, so we'll do a motion that a letter will be written to the three organizations. Do we also, at this point in time, I'm just thinking, Boys and Girls Club and Prism, we don't need to, I don't know if we need to contact them at the same time, because that's
We
a little
should.
bit different. Same
We should.
time?
Yes,
Okay.
everybody that applied should get a letter at the same time. So they don't feel like we're like ignoring them and stuff. We can obviously have to tell them why they weren't considered. But everybody should get a letter at the same time.
I agree with Linda. And also it came up yesterday at FinCom, this with regard to Prism's application for, well, with regard to their citizen warrant article, it came up about the 501c3 certificate. So I do think we have to let them know right away.
Okay,
And I reached out to Isaiah about his 501c status. So like I think I can reach back out and just be like, I'm sorry, I cannot, under the current circumstances, you need to have your full certification before we do deliberations. So that's something I can do and reach out on. For Boys and Girls Club, I can email back the applicant there as well. Does this committee feel the need to have an official letter for it, or can it be administrative reach out to explain, like in proxy? Either one is fine with me.
I think you need
Um,
an official letter
I do
because
too.
they
I
applied
agree.
officially. We need to officially respond.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
So there'll be three different letters then. The one to the three organizations that'll be the same letter to the three organizations. There'll be a letter for Prism and a letter for Boys and Girls, because there's really three different categories of messages that we're sending.
Yep.
All right,
And just to advise this, just to let this committee know, I'll be talking with each of the three Zero Award agencies at the top there. I'll be talking about them on other matters. There's a potential that I could be using some of the final term of rural health equity grant to support some of these processes in a smaller amount. And that'll be a chance for them to kind of get a dry run at collaborating on a single application.
Okay, good. Thank you, Jericho. All right. So can we go on then? All right, I've been distracted here. Do we need a vote now on that these letters are going to be written?
I
All
would
right.
say yes.
So a motion that we're going to be creating 3 letters, one for the 0 awards of Lighthouse, Dreamland, and Athenaeum. Then a separate one for Boys and Girls Club and a separate for Prism.
So moved.
Second,
Second. All right. Linda,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Sue,
aye.
myself, I. So that motion passes. So we'll work on those letters Monday and Tuesday, Jericho, if I'll get those out to you. Next is, let's look at the edits that John has.
And then there was an additional one, Sue, the repetition of needs assessment. I think it should be in the top and in the bottom, but if it's in the bottom twice, we should probably yank it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't personally need to see John's edits. I'd be willing to motion to accept the report with the edits as you see fit.
And
As
then John, if you
may
want
be
to
modified.
John, if you want to stick on afterwards,
I'll
we can
stick
go.
on, and these reasons, I've honestly, these are
Syntax.
fixing up language,
Yeah.
but not changing concept in any sense of the word.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
perfectly happy with that, to vote in favor of this with the modifications to be made through the
Okay.
office with John and Veronica.
I
Okay.
agree.
All
I'm
righty.
fine with that.
Okay.
Which
So,
brings us to,
well, then let's have a, can I have a motion? Will someone make that motion? Linda,
I
would
made
you
that
like to?
motion. Yeah, I made that motion.
Okay, second.
Second,
All right. Joanna,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Sue,
aye.
Linda,
Aye.
and myself, I. So that motion passes. So, John, if you'll stick around, we will do those
I'll stick
edits.
around.
Okay.
I'm stuck where I am.
waiting
Okay,
for resin
not-
to dry, right, John?
That's
What?
right. Not a problem.
Waiting for the resin to dry.
Right.
Right. Okay. All righty. Thank you, everyone. Again, this has been a interesting couple of months, and we're nearing the end. You know, and there'll be more work to do as soon as as soon as we hang up, for sure. But any new business?
Do we have to meet to do the quarterly reports at some point, Jericho, or
be-
are we not doing
Yes.
that?
So we have not been doing that since this time last year. I would like to reinstate that coming the next fiscal year, but I do not believe it is necessary for this one. We will be
Okay.
meeting a bunch right around that anyway, so we do some quarterly reviews. The quarterlies are my project for next year. So we've been doing, this year was application, next year plan is going to be it was application and evaluation. This coming year is going to be review, reporting, and the agreements are sort of what I'd like to focus on with everybody. But we will be meeting when Q3 comes out. When we'll send out those reports for Q3, we can discuss them while we're meeting or right around then, and then we can get back into the review and approval stream that we had going a couple years ago.
Okay. And we will be meeting for the opiate grant.
Okay.
And I assume that'll be in March sometime, Jericho?
I'm going to talk with Brian after I pass along once this is in, then I'll talk to Brian about the specifics and any requirements about the opioid settlement money. I'll pass that information out to the committee as soon as I have stuff in writing that's sorted out. And then I'd hopefully be starting that we should have all of our ducks in a row for that by end of March, and then do the application process over probably, I'd like to be returning something, have a well-formatted request by sort of mid-April at the latest.
Okay. And additionally, we will be meeting to get back to the Riftelis report. And I don't anticipate that before the end of March, or maybe it'll be in April sometime.
That one
And-
is not up against the town meeting time limit or the
Right.
fiscal year time limit, so that might get
Yeah.
pushed back as we do the additional grant process. Lexi
Okay.
has her
Did
hand
you?
up.
Oh, there she is.
So I just want to confirm that as of right now, I'm not scheduling any meetings until these couple things.
I believe that's right. We have nothing on the horizon in the immediate future. So it looks like sometime in maybe the end of March would be a meeting on the opiate grant. And then the other Riftelis won't be until maybe end of April or May. So no meetings right now.
At least the rest of
I have my-
February.
Right.
Linda has a hand up.
Okay, Linda?
Yeah, I think we should post when we're coming up to the FinCom. Because some of us may want to be there with you.
Okay, as soon as we get that, we can, now, does
would
that
need
have to
to-
be, that has
We
to
would need
be,
to declare if more than 2 is there. So if people would like to show up, that's fine. We can declare it as a meeting, just so we're in good stead with OML.
okay. Alrighty, so when we get that date, the date will come out to everyone, and if we see that there's gonna be more than 2 of us, then we'll post a meeting. All right, Joanna, is there a typical time of the week that these meetings take place? Is it a standard?
There is, let me talk to Denise and we'll be back to you.
Okay, alrighty. Perfect, so, except for John hanging out and us making these edits, any more new business, or can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
All right,
second it.
All
second it.
right, so Sue,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
John, I think we're
Aye.
ending the meeting, so it would be an aye from you and an
Yeah,
aye
you
from
got an
me.
eye from me.
Okay, and an aye from me that we are ending this meeting. I want to thank everyone for their time, efforts, thoughts, and open discussion, because that's what makes this process work. So thank
I
you.
just want to thank you for you and Jericho's hard work on this report. I'm just loving it.
All right, well, hopefully we can do more of this in the future.
Well,
For
well
sure.
done,
And I
Veronica.
want to
Thank you.
assure you all.
Yeah, well done,
all I
Veronica.
want- I just want you all to understand, well, everything I'm trying to do is to improve the quality of the writing, not to change the
Okay.
content.
And John, I think that's really important, because what you're looking at here, it's a Frankenstein report, so,
I
sometimes.
recognize that.
All righty.
I'm
so-
going to just end the recording here as we have
Alrighty.
adjourned.
Okay, have a great